Okay, fifth graders. We're looking at patterns with decimals. This is 310 in that new packet I just gave you the other day. So let's see here. There's a couple terms here that you need to be familiar with. The first one is sequence, and a sequence is an ordered list of numbers. So if you list things in sequence, there's a particular order to them. And this applies not just to numbers, but it could be a sequence of names or a list of items in a particular sequence. And a term is each number in a sequence. So if I had a sequence of numbers that were, let's say, 7, 8, 9, 10, this is a sequence of numbers. They're each being increased by 1. There's a particular pattern to them you can often see in a sequence. And each one of these is considered a term. 7's a term, 8's a term, 9's a term, 10's a term. So let's see here. It says a state park rents canoes for guests to use at the lake. It costs $5 to rent a canoe for 1 hour, $6.75 for 2 hours, $8.50 for 3 hours, and $10.25 for 4 hours. If this pattern continues, how much would it cost Jason to rent a canoe for 7 hours? So step 1 here, write the terms you know in a sequence. So they gave us these terms here. Now, what are the terms? Well, $5 is a term, $6.75 is a term, $8.50 is a term, $10.25 is a term. And so they've listed these terms here. And so 5 to $6.75, it's $1.75 more. It's increased by $1.75. $6.75 to $8.50 is what? That's another $1.75. $8.50 to $10.25. That's another $1.75. So it's increasing by $1.75 each time. And so this is 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Step 2 says write a rule that describes the pattern in the sequence. And I would say you add $1.75 each time. Or you could put each hour or each term is increased by $1.75. I mean, there's several different ways you could phrase this. Okay? Step 3, it says extend the sequence to solve the problem. So we're adding $1.75 each time. So what's $10.25 adding $1.75? Well, put that answer here. And then whatever that answer is, you add another $1.75. Whatever that answer is, you add another $1.75. So it should cost how much to rent a canoe for 7 hours? Remember, this is 1 hour, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So whatever you end up with here, that would go here. Down at the bottom it says look for a pattern. What observation can you make about the pattern in the sequence that will help you write a rule? Well, what observation can you make about the pattern? Well, gosh, it's kind of the same thing we wrote up here. I'm not sure why they're asking us that again. So I would just put what you wrote here down here. It's kind of silly why they would ask the same thing again. It seems like the same question to me. Anyways, I didn't make these up. Mine would be very different. All right. We have 29.6, 28.3. Well, it's getting less now. How much less between these two? What's the difference? Remember when we talk about difference, we're talking about subtraction. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to write 29.6. And then I'm going to put 28.3. And I'm going to subtract them. I'm going to see what the difference is. So this is 3. That's 1. So 1.3. So if I subtract another 1.3, what would I get? I'd be at 20. 8 subtracting 1 would be 27. Oh, I see it. So that's it. So we're subtracting 1.3. So subtract 1.3 from 25.7. Whatever that is, subtract 1.3, subtract 1.3. And I think we can see a rule. It says, look at the first few terms of the sequence. Is the sequence increasing or decreasing? It's decreasing from one term to the next. And it says, write a rule that describes the pattern of the sequence. What operation can be used to describe the sequence that increases? What was that? What operation can be used to describe a sequence that increases? Well, if it increases, which this doesn't, that's kind of confusing. If it increases, it would be addition. But that's not this one. This is subtraction. That's kind of confusing why they would put that in there. What operation can be used to describe a sequence that decreases? Well, that's subtraction. Okay. And so what's the rule? Subtract 1.3 from each term, I guess. I think that would be fine. Term, that's an M. There we go. Okay. All right. Explain how you know whether your rule for a sequence would involve addition or subtraction. Well, let's see here. Addition would increase. Subtraction, we'll put a comma there, would decrease. Okay. Let's see here. Try this. It says write a rule for the sequence, then find the unknown term. Let's see here. I'm not going to do this one. Let's do B together here. Write the first 4 terms of this sequence. Start at 3.5 and add 1.5. So you would start at 0.35 and we're going to add 1.5. So 0.35 and I'm going to add 1.5. So 0, carry the 1, that's going to be 5. So it's going to be a half, so 0.5. And I'm going to continue adding 1.5. So 0.5 or 0.50 adding 1.5 is going to be what? 0.65. 0.65 adding another 1.5, this is what I'm adding each time, would be what? 8.80. Okay? So for this one, see if you can figure out A for yourself. Just look for a pattern in here. Okay? Next page. Write a rule for the sequence. Let's see here. I'm going to pull a stick here as soon as I flip my page. Mr. Wooldridge, you're up. So, we're starting with 0.5, then we're doing 1.8, 3.1, 4.4. Is the sequence increasing or decreasing? Well, that's kind of a no-brainer. What do you think the rule is? What's happening to each one? Okay? And if you get it right, you get 20 points. We'll find out here today. All right, that was number 1. Let's see here. How about number 2? Pull another stick. Miss Lehman, you're in a hot seat. What is happening here? Well, first off, is it increasing or decreasing? 23.2, 22.1, 21, 19.9, so it's decreasing. So we know it involves subtraction. We'll find the difference between these two. Subtract one from the other. 23.2, subtract 22.1. And if you get that right, you get 20 points for your group. And let's see here. On your own, down here, it says write the first 4 terms of the sequence. Start at 10.64, subtract 1.45 each time. Well, you guys can do that. Start at 19.3, start at 8.87, start at 29.7. Okay, you guys can do those. So let's see here. Marta put 4.87 in her coin bank. Each day she added 1 quarter, 1 nickel, and 3 pennies. Well, you're going to have to figure out how much that is. How much is that? What's 1 quarter worth? That's 25, right? 0.25. What's a nickel worth? Well, a nickel's 0.05. And 3 pennies, 0.03. Got to add those together. How much money was in her coin bank after 6 days? So each day, she's adding that much. And so you would start with 4.87, add that much, and you'd get day 2. This is day 1, and then day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6. Okay? Now, look at this one here. It says, identify relationships. Look at the list below. Do the numbers show a pattern? Explain how you know. 11.23, 10.75, 10.3, 9.82. If you started, it's decreasing. But if you subtracted these, each one's different. So this is kind of a trick one here. Do the numbers show a pattern? The answer is no. And how do you know? You know because the differences between each term is not the same. In other words, if each one was, let's say, subtracting 1.1 each time, then we would have a sequence. But there's really no pattern in here. Each one's different. So there is no pattern in this one. All right, next page. Let's see here. It says Bryn has a deck of cards as shown below. Each card is labeled with a rule describing a pattern in sequence. Select a card and decide on a starting number. Use the rule to write the first 5 terms in the sequence. Okay, forget this. Let's make our own. So I'm gonna scratch. I've got some white out here. We're getting rid of these. These are all addition. How boring. We could do subtraction. We'll make the last 2 subtraction. And right now they're keeping it simple. Later on there'll be multiplication and division. So let's call this one, let's say this one's subtraction. And this one's subtraction also. I'm going to pull sticks. And then everybody's going to tell me what pattern they want. So for example, okay, Mr. Rosowski, addition. What you're going to write how much we would increase between each term and what number we start with. So so let me give you an example here. Here's my example. Okay, let's say it's addition, and I'm going to say add. I'll put a little plus sign. 5.6, and we're going to start with 11.9. So I'll put 11.9 right here, and then I'm going to add 5.6 each time. So Mr. Wasowski, you tell us what you want right here, and then what we start with. And then Mr. McWilliams, you tell us what we add to it each time and what we start with. And Mr. Duhamel, you tell us what we add each time and what we start with. And Mr. Storm, you tell us what we start with, or what we subtract each time and what we start with. And finally, Miss Nealons, what we subtract each time and what we start with. And then all of us can pick which one you want to do. And we'll pull sticks and we'll see if you guys got it right. Okay? And since I just did this, I mean, we kind of did our own thing up here. And so we really don't have to worry about this. And then down below 12, it says Colleen and Tom are playing a number pattern game. Tom wrote the following sequence. What is the unknown term in this sequence? Well, first determine if it's addition or subtraction. Looks like it's going to be addition, and then you need to figure out what goes right here. And I'll pull a stick for that one. 20 points for your group if you get it right. Mr. Montanez. Okay. All right. How's my video? 17 minutes. Let's stop there. And we're done. Look at that. That was 310. Next is 311. All right, go for it.